The NFL tournament is set. College football has one bowl game left. And a big MLB superstar has been offered a contract. The Main Event Podcast is coming up next.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Main Event.
That'll bring on Matt Prater for a 20. Trick play. Wide open. Levine Toilolo.
Let's go!
Prater with a touchdown pass.
Matt Prater has the NFL's longest field goal. He's a man who's a legend. He's kicked long balls, he's kicked game winners, and here in Lambeau in December gives a cadence with the leg lift like Peyton Manning, no laces, and delivers a dime in the corner of the end zone for a 13, about to be 14-0 lead in Green Bay, Wisconsin. What a beautiful moment for the Braves. Adjust himself, calculate it, nice short step like Peyton Manning says on the leadoff, and deliver a dime in the corner of the end zone. That was magical for the Braves.
Hey, welcome to the Main Event Podcast. Jason Carter along with Steve McCullum.
Hello, everybody.
This is our first podcast of the new year, 2019. As the year is here, the playoffs are ready to roll this weekend, starting tomorrow. One more game left in college football. Thank you, Jesus, because those bowl games were atrocious. But before we get into any of that, Manny Machado has been offered.
That was the superstar you're going with?
I mean, he's a superstar. A formal offer has been made to Manny Machado from the Chicago White Sox. A deal, according to Bob Nightingale, which is likely closer to $200 million than $300 million in total value. Any chance he signed?
Well, that was going to be my next question. So it's nowhere near what he wanted and what he thought he could get. It's the White Sox. So is that just the public offer to get the other teams to up their offers?
I mean, maybe, could be. I mean, a lot of people still have him linked to the Phillies. The White Sox have both been linked to Machado and Harper this year. I still think Machado goes to the Phillies. I like the Phillies getting him down. I don't know. I think it's something had to be done. One of these guys had to be offered something, right? I mean, it's January now. We're 40 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting. So, I mean, we got to get something going here. We got to take photos. We got to get these guys on billboards, on banners, do all this stuff. Jerseys pumped out, season tickets. You know they're going to be on the season tickets. So, I mean, yeah, you got to get these. You got to do something here if you're a team.
Where'd that report come from?
Bob Nightingale.
Really? So, yeah, he's a good... So that... I suspect that is just the sneak out offer, because that might be the best offer that Machado's got out there, and he doesn't want to sign it. So his agents fed the information out there to get the other teams that are in it for him to raise their dollar amount. I don't see him signing with the White Sox.
I mean, the Sox have been linked to both Machado and Harper. According to John Heyman, he says the Sox are a long shot for Harper, perhaps further underscoring that Chicago is more focused on Machado. It's also worth noting that Daryl Fanshauen of the Chicago Sun writes that the Southsiders' presentation of Harper impressed him more than he anticipated. So Harper went in I'm not going to be impressed by the White Sox, but actually was.
How did you get impressed in that? Because, I mean, only thing you can learn differently, right, is the facilities. What else do you learn?
I don't know, just what they bring. Like, oh, hey, here's our selling package. Here's our packet for you.
They have a video, like an entourage, when Vince was trying to find a new agency, and they all had the same promotion video for him, and he was like, what the heck? And he signed with the group that didn't have it, so... Well, but you're right. I mean, that means things are moving, because it's been silent on the baseball front, even after meetings. Owner meetings are usually when... a lot of moves are made and whatnot. It was quiet this year, so just shows you the state of baseball, man. The people don't want to spend the big bucks on these guys.
Speaking of spending money, would have been big bucks had this player not been on the IR for so long, but Troy Tulowitzki signs with the Yankees, so...
What position is he going to play? Short?
Yeah, I believe he's going to play short.
Is he short? Where's Didi going then? Second?
Well, Didi actually got hurt last year, so he is kind of on the DL starting off the season. So
He's still.
yeah,
There has been an
had to have that whole surgery there. So there you have it. That's your baseball news for
No, I guess
January.
Tulowitzki is like 1,000 years old.
I know he was so good. We went to the Blue Jays, like from Colorado. He was like really big, like
He was
guy. You know, you
so
gotta
good
get
in Colorado, man. Like he lit it up in Colorado, and he was like a stud.
super stud. Anyways, we are the Main Event Podcast. Make sure you follow us on Facebook at the Main Event Podcast. Also hit us up on Twitter at the Main Event Pod. You can find me on Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram at JasonCarter03. You can find Steven on all three at
SMAC 500.
Sorry, I threw the Steven at you.
I know that threw me out there. Like you even hesitated. When you
The
did
dog
it.
was down here bothering me.
I thought, is that a euphemism? First of all.
He was under the table. I was like, Steven!
Okay, that's interesting. And it's a wiener dog too, so
So we went to 2 bowl games this year.
yes, lucky us.
Lucky us, we went to what CBS ranked the 13th best bowl game of the year and the first best bowl game of the year.
So the Fiesta Bowl was the 13th.
Yes. Citing it was a competitive game and fun to watch throughout. And the Cheez-It Bowl, well, it was just terrible for all the wrong reasons, or good for all the wrong reasons. Was that? Yeah.
Yeah, it was terrible for all the right
It was
reasons.
good for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, good for all the wrong reasons.
You know, it's like you're dating a girl, like, baby, you're so good for all the wrong reasons. That's exactly what that game was. That game was something, that was a fire you couldn't put out.
That Cheez-It Bowl is going to stick with me for like the rest of my life.
Exactly.
Like, it was so. You know it's bad when both teams' fan bases are like, can this just please end? For the love of God, somebody's score and put this out of our misery. But the Fiesta Bowl the other day, I mean, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that for other reasons besides football. But UCF can finally shut up. They don't belong with the big boys.
They lost by 8 effing points. All right, let's be real here.
And then, LSU got their 10 wins into Coach O, which is what they needed for recruiting and just their ego of their fan base.
I'm so glad Coach O was able to win a national title his second year. Nick Saban didn't even do that. Congratulations, Coach O.
So, the thing that stuck with me on that game is, one, UCF has a lot of speed, which caught me off guard because usually those mid-major schools are slower and they're smaller, and they were definitely smaller. But they held in there with their speed, which is what kind of really amazed me on that front. But I never felt, after the first quarter, maybe quarter and a half, I never felt like LSU was going to lose that game.
Yeah, never felt like LSU was going to lose. UCF kind of made it interesting there late. Kind of makes, I hate to be that guy, but it kind of makes me wonder what would have happened had they had their starting quarterback.
Well, I mean, you always, yeah, but okay, I'll switch it around. What would have happened if LSU had their 4 all-pro defensive linemen that set out the game to go pro this year? I mean, we could play that game all day long, on that front. But, I mean, it just goes to show that, like, if you're a UCF school, just like Boise State back in the day, you've got to step up your game and get in a better conference if you want to step up and play the big boys more often. Now, next year, their preseason slate's pretty big. They got Stanford and somebody else. Another big name school, pretty respectable school coming in next year. So they're finally getting that off season, preseason schedule worked out to where they got some big guys coming in. But I was impressed with their speed. There's no doubt about that. But bowl games are that weird thing, and I hate the most. Like, what do you think of those people that say, like, Georgia, got blown out by Texas, so Georgia didn't belong to be in the playoffs, and then Notre Dame gets blown out, and Notre Dame didn't deserve to be in there. Like, how do you feel about that conversation that always happens?
I mean, Notre Dame, they're just in there on name recognition. We know that, right? Like, yeah, they play at Power Fives, but come on. Like,
come on, they beat
look at who
Stanford
they
and
beat
USC
this year. Like,
they beat the vaunted USC Trojans, who didn't even make a bowl game, and Stanford, who had to play in the Sun Bowl. They were so down this year. So
Pitt is the other team.
Oh, Pitt, that's who they
So
play.
Stanford
yeah.
and Pitt next year.
I mean, Stanford's an upgrade, but Pitt, Pitt's here or there.
Yeah,
but,
Pitt's Pitt.
But at least it's it's a Power 5 school that they're playing. I mean, even if it's a bad year, I mean, look at Notre Dame. They played USC and Stanford this year, and Power 5 schools that, it's not an ACC school, Power 5 schools that, generally are respected and have a good thing, and it didn't work out for them. Both of them had a down year this year. That's not Notre Dame's fault. I don't think it would have mattered, except for Georgia. I don't think it would have mattered who played in the playoffs. They were getting killed. I think Georgia was the one team that could have hung in there with both those guys. They still would have lost, but they at least would have hung in there and made it competitive, I think. Just because they have the same type of players as both of them.
It's the college football playoffs. I've learned not to look for competitive games in the first round.
Well, I know, but that goes back to the thing where, like, you were clamoring for 8 a couple weeks ago, and I said 6 would probably be the better deal.
I just don't like the buys.
I know, but the argument is that get more competitive in the first round because Alabama and Clemson are going to blow out whoever they play in the first round. There's no, I mean, Oklahoma hung in there with, I forgot who they played. Alabama. Oklahoma played in there with Alabama.
That was a weird game to watch, by the way.
But I also felt like Alabama was never in danger of losing it. They were just kind of like toying with them.
I mean, once they went up 17-0 in the first 5 minutes, yeah, that game was over. I mean, Oklahoma make it as competitive as they did. I was like, what the heck? Like, if you guys just could have started off out the gate, probably would have been a little bit better. But no, they started off horribly piss poor. Didn't get going at all on offense to start the game off. Kyler Murray didn't even have a completion, I think, until the second quarter. It was just terrible display of offense, and it makes me wonder. My biggest question is, can we quit naming the Heisman winner after the regular season? Because Kyler Murray did not look like a Heisman winner that first quarter.
Wait, you want to do it after
the season? Let's do it after the season.
No.
Or maybe this weekend.
It's a regular season award, though. So you're saying Tua would have won it instead of Kyler Murray? Because Tua didn't look...
Well, no, I'm just saying, when they do name it after, or they do name it before the regular season, what happens is a lot of times the Heisman winner does come out there and throw up a dud in the playoffs, and a lot of people start questioning, whoa, what the hell, why did this guy win the Heisman? I just don't like seeing the thought and the question of it on Twitter.
Well, that was kind of what I was getting at when I was talking about the people, after the playoffs, like who deserves and who doesn't based off of a bowl game. Because, it's the same concept as that. What you're saying with the Heisman there is, Kyler Murray deserved the Heisman after that regular season. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, you could have given it to Tua and I would have been like, okay, good. It could have gone either way. But you can't go after a bowl game. I mean, that wasn't a meaningless bowl game, but come on. You gotta play the games ahead of you. It's a regular season award. I'll be honest with you. Let's get rid of the Heisman altogether. What a crap award is that? When was the last time the Heisman was relevant?
Relevant hasn't did something
Desmond
in
Howard?
life.
Not just that, but I mean, you actually cared about. Maybe it's that I'm older, but when I was a kid, it seemed like it wasn't every year. Like when Gino Toretto won the Heisman, I didn't give a crap. But Desmond Howard, man, remember how exciting that was when he freaking won it for Michigan on defense and everything. So, but I mean, that's what I mean. When was the last time you watched you were looking forward to see who would win the Heisman? It's been years, right?
Probably when Vince Young was going up for it. Did he win it against Matt Leinart? Or did Leinart win it? Was it Young, Leinart, and Bush that were the three
Vince
finalists?
Young never won it, did he?
Wasn't he a finalist?
He was
With
probably
Matt
a
Leinart,
finalist.
I think. Yeah.
He was probably a finalist, but he didn't win.
I think it was him, Bush, and Matt Leinart that year that Young won the Rose Bowl against.
Matt Leinart won it one year. Bush won it the second year. Or vice versa, but one of them won it. The other one won it. I don't think Vince Young ever won it.
Yeah, I think it was just a finalist that one year.
This is my whole point of it, though. Is
I was interested that year to see if he'd won it.
That was 10 years ago.
13.
13 years ago.
13
that's right.
years ago today, actually.
I saw that too. I saw that tweet too.
Vincent Young led the Texas Longhorns to victory against the USC Trojans.
The thing I saw, I watched the final 5 minutes of that game when Texas came back to win it, asleep on my couch. I woke up and my ex who was sitting next to me goes, Texas just won that. And I went, really? Oh, wow, that's surprising. And I think I went back to sleep.
I was clamoring for instant replay because Vince's knee was down on that option. Totally down. No replay, though. Was in play back in 2006. And I remember I was at this party with some friends because they're all Longhorn UT hooking them. And I called this girl over to come over after the game. And,
were you the one that posted that you had a really good booty call that night?
Oh, you saw that? Yeah, Fox Sports Southwest.
Somebody posted that, and I know that. What a shocker it was you. Yes.
Really good. What's up, Megan? If you're listening, shout out.
I love you, Megan. 13 years ago today.
It was fun.
Hope your hubby isn't listening to this.
I wonder if you still have that T-shirt. I actually gave her a Longhorn shirt for coming over. It was more like prostitution than anything.
What kind of girl comes over for a booty call with the promise of getting a Longhorns T-shirt?
I don't know, but I really don't care when you're in the middle of it. Speaking of Texas, 2 big playoff games going on in Texas on Saturday.
Hold on. I'm sorry, really quick. 13 years ago, you were 22?
19.
Holy shit. All right, explains it all. All right, next.
We will get into more college football championship games later on when we give our predictions. And also, you know what? We're going to have a little fun state versus state later on to determine who will win the national title game. Because right now, Bama and Clemson, they are both, what do you say? They're tied, I guess, when they play each other national title games since the playoff has been invented.
Isn't Alabama 2-1?
Alabama has won against them, and Clemson took one against them the next year, and then they haven't played.
This is 4.
Yeah, they haven't played against each other, like head to head.
Math is not my specialty, folks. One of my New Year's resolutions is to learn to count on my fingers so I don't say stupid things like that.
Let's keep up here. Let's keep up.
No. I'm right. They played 3 times head to head.
No, they played twice.
They played 3 times. This is the 4th time.
No, this is the 3rd time.
All right.
Let me check here because I was pretty sure.
We gotta do hold music here. Elevator stuff.
Clemson versus.
They're calling it the 4 right now.
4? Are they calling it the 4?
Yeah, I heard that today. I heard the rematch 4 or something like that on ESPN today.
That's a weird flex. Hang on, Clemson versus.
Yeah, because Alabama won the first year, Clemson won the second year, Alabama won last year.
Game. Alabama won. Yeah, but they did beat Clemson last year.
Yeah, they did.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
Was that the national title game last year? Was it Clemson?
Yes, wasn't it?
I have no idea. I don't think I paid attention last year.
Welcome to...
No, it was Georgia.
Oh, did they play Georgia last year?
Yeah, and then Ohio State was the year before that.
That's right. All right. It's like I'm drunk or something.
Yeah, it was Georgia. Gosh, come on, get it right. This is the 3rd time they face off in the national title game.
They played before the national title game last year then, right?
Who, Clemson and Bama?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they played the playoff. Okay. Yeah,
that's why I'm confused. They played the first.
Yeah, you don't count the playoff. You count the bowl. You only count the title game.
All right. I've been drinking.
Okay, so on the NFL, yeah. we'll get to more on that later. But the first round, the wild card round, the most important round of the playoffs, start this week.
Why is it the most important?
I always feel like the team that wins the wild card game kind of has a momentum going into that.
I would agree with that.
Going into that second round when they play the team that had the bye.
I would agree with that.
I always like the momentum. Momentum shifters, Steven. Momentum shifters.
As long as there's not a Top Golf going in, we're okay.
But first, let's talk about the schedule. We talked about this in the past of how we're not a fan of when Florida, or not Florida, but NFL like schedules like Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, and who else? Miami on the same day. Both games Saturday are both being played in Texas.
You don't like that?
Well, no, it just kind of brings me back to my point. I mean, I don't know.
Pro scheduling like that is...
I think you can split it up, right?
No, because I get what you're saying, but I guess I'm trying to word it right. But because it's based off, so the Saturday morning game or early first game on Saturday is the game that gets the worst ratings, no matter who you put in there.
Right.
So you put the teams you think aren't a good matchup and aren't going to get good ratings regardless. So that's why you get Indy versus Houston, because I know Houston's not a small market. Houston, settle down, what I'm about to say, but
Remember the Oilers?
you're a small market. You know, nobody tunes into the Houston Texans football games. You know, so and of all, like, what other one would you put in that spot? I mean, you're not going to put Baltimore with Washington and New York's ratings right there
Right.
into that spot. You're definitely not putting Philly or Chicago into that spot.
You're not putting the Cowboys.
You're not
there
putting the
either.
Cowboys and even Seattle into that spot, because Seattle actually has a huge following, especially in the whole Pacific Northwest, because they pretty much dominate that whole area up there where there's no other team but them. So I mean, it makes sense that they're the team in there, but I was actually surprised that the Cowboys in Seattle was on Saturday night instead of Sunday. That's what's
Me too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because Fox only had the Saturday game and NBC had the Sunday game.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
maybe Fox wants to, no, we want Dallas.
I mean, Seattle Cowboys was going to be the second game, and Philly Chicago was going to be the second
Yeah, regardless.
game. But I would seem like, especially Philly Chicago, I feel like that would be more of a Saturday night matchup because, I mean, it's intriguing, but if you're not a diehard football fan, a 12-4 versus a 9-7 matchup is not really that exciting.
Especially in the 9-7 that has a backup quarterback and a 6.5 point spread.
I know. So that's why you would think that would be the Saturday. And then not only that, but, Philadelphia and Chicago, it's horrible weather this time of year, right? So people are going to be in on Saturday nights watching this.
Actually, weather not going to be too bad.
Is it not?
No.
In Chicago? It's
49 degrees.
It's not going to be bear weather?
49 degrees is what I saw. Then 54 in Baltimore on Sunday. So weather won't be a big factor this weekend.
Yeah, I was surprised by that, but I don't know how I know how they scheduled the Saturday morning game because I've heard a lot of people talk about it this week, and I was reading a lot of stuff on it. But the other games, I don't know how they schedule it. I think it's because they want AFC, NFC, AFC, NFC. On both days. So that makes sense. But like I said, But even then, like I said, you could switch Seattle and the Cowboys and Philly and Chicago. But I guess
That probably comes down to Fox and NBC butting heads over who wants what,
Yeah, don't they have like a lottery or something? Because of whatever happened this season, they get one place gets to choose first or something like that. It's something like that, I'm sure, right? I've heard.
Probably something stupid like that. But anyways, Colts and Texans kick things off. That game's going to be simulcasted, ESPN and ABC. So you get to watch it if you don't have ESPN.
Same channel, but okay.
No, well, for us it doesn't matter. But like ABC is going to be, channel 15. It'll be on channel 15 and also on ESPN. So you can still watch all your games right there. Houston 1.5 point favorites. Over under is the largest of any game this weekend. 48 is the over under, and you can get tickets as low as $19 on StubHub.
That's our new thing. We're going to start naming that stuff.
Yes.
So they matched up, obviously, division foes. Third time they're matching 1-1 against each other in regular season. Pretty much identical records. 11-5 Houston, Indianapolis 10-6. The thing about this game that's going to be intriguing is one team is hot coming into it and one team kind of stumbled a little bit. Yeah, they won a few, but they stumbled in the middle of the season, and one team didn't. And that's what's going to be intriguing coming into this game on this. And they both know each other really well, so it's going to be... I think this is going to be one of the closest games of the weekend just because they know each other so well, and there's a lot of pressure on Houston on this run right here.
Oh, yeah, definitely a lot of pressure on Houston. Of course, they've been, last year had a great middle of the season with Deshaun Watson getting hurt. I mean, they were going to go make the playoffs, I felt like, last year. Probably get a first-round bye last year, the way they were playing, until Deshaun Watson went down. And then you got Indy, coming back with Andrew Luck, who missed all of last year. So, this is going to be pretty intriguing.
Well, then they started horribly to start the season on top of it. So the other team I was referring to that was hot coming into this game is they pretty much had to win out to even
Won
make the playoffs.
9 out of their last 10 games.
Yeah.
Only loss came to the Jaguars, where they lost 6-0.
That's when Andrew Luck didn't show up. That was a week I needed him to play well, and he didn't. So fantasy football. So I mean,
keys to the game.
Yep. So for Indianapolis, for me, it's simple, man. You got to protect Andrew Luck there. You got to keep him upright. You cannot have him get hurried. You cannot have him get hit. Anything like that. Indianapolis gave up the second fewest sacks in the whole regular season. They got to keep that trend going against that Houston defense with Clowney and Watt and all those boys in there. Indianapolis has to just keep scoring. It cannot be a low scoring affair for them to win this. They have to put points up, wear down that Houston defense, and they need to keep passing the ball. Now, Andrew Luck threw the ball the second most in the NFL, something ridiculous, like 690 passes the whole season. But second most throws. Get away from that running game and just throw the ball. So that's what you're here to do. Do it. You're not only that, but you're going to neutralize that defensive line for Houston and the linebackers there, J.J. Watt and those guys. If you can neutralize them with those short passes out to T.Y. Hilton and then go deep every once in a while, you'll be good to go. So for Indianapolis, that's their keys.
For me, you got to put pressure on Watson. Watson was sacked 62 times this year, most in the NFL. 12 of those sacks came from the actual Colts. So, the Colts puts pressure on Watson. You got to balance that offensive attack, too. I mean, you said Andrew Luck's thrown the ball a bunch of times, but when Marlon Mack rushes for over 100 yards, they're 4-0 in those games. And also, protect the ball. Andrew Luck, since 2012, has had more interceptions in the playoffs than any other quarterback with 12, and that's only like 3 games. So, Luck is it's like night and day in playoffs. So Andrew Luck has to, he can air it out because he is playing the worst defense when it comes to the pass since week 7 of last year or week 7 of this past season.
But one of the better teams in rushing.
Exactly.
That's the problem. But by passing the ball, you throw deep every once in a while. But I'm talking about this little Duncan. They need that running game, but basically they need to pass the ball to set up the run. Because they got to get Clowney and those defensive ends and J.J. Watt and them not rushing in on Luck. They need to get them back on their heels a little bit, and that's where that passing game is going to come in and do it for them. So
keys for Houston?
I've got protect Watson, obviously. Guy gets sacked more than freaking potatoes back there. They need to limit the Colts scoring with their defense. I mean, if this is a high scoring game, Houston's not keeping up with them at all. And then they need to win the turnover battle. They need to get 1 or 2 turnovers against the Colts offense here in order to stay in this game and pull it out at some point in this game. Because if Indianapolis is just running up and down the field, it's going to be a long day for Houston.
Yeah, I think, you got to hit Luck. Andrew Luck wasn't sacked in 5 of the 9 wins they had down the stretch. There's actually 6 games Luck wasn't sacked at all, and one of those was right before the streak started for him. You got to find a way to get him on the ground. I also got to find a way to cover their wideouts. 6 week 7, like I said, worst defense against the pass. You got T.Y. Hilton back there. The guy is going to be, phenomenal. Whether they're going deep, whether you're giving these dink and dunks, letting T.Y., do T.Y. things, you got to find a way to limit that. Maybe do a bend, don't break type defense. I don't know what you got to do, but you got to find a way to limit T.Y. Hilton. And you also got to keep Watson upright. Like you said, the guy has been hit more than a sack of potatoes. You can eat my potato. And he's got to find a way to also hit Hopkins, man. 115 receptions this year, 0 drops by Hopkins. It's unheard of.
But the reason why I didn't put that one in there, because I thought about that one, is just because, I think Houston's offense is going to be fine. It's just going to be stopping. And the same thing with your Colts one is, I think this is going to come down to Houston's defense stopping the Colts offense, or the Colts offense scoring a lot on their Houston's defense. I think it comes down to that basic synopsis there. The individual, like with Hopkins or T.Y. Hilton and all that, because you're right, even the running back out of the backfield can potentially put up a lot of stuff on this one here. But all the pressure right now is on Houston because they had such a good season. Bill O'Brien's always falters in these situations. So that's the other thing, is just there's so much pressure. And in Houston, Indianapolis is coming in basically pressure free right now because they're not even supposed to be here.
So who wins?
I'm going with the upset here. Indianapolis is winning this game, and they're going to win it by 2 or 3 touchdowns, I think. I think the pressure is going to be too much for Houston.
I like Indy to win, not by 2 touchdowns. I got 27-24.
Oh, wow, that close with field goals, huh?
I think it's going to be close. I think,
but by 2 touchdowns,
I think both teams are going to have trouble finding the rhythm to start off with. because it is, the first game. It is an early game, super early for these teams to play. And then
by 2 touchdowns, I just simply mean it's going to be close, 3-7 points till the end, and then Houston's going to have to start chucking the ball down the field.
Get that garbage time.
Yeah, and then Indianapolis will get some garbage time stuff on there. This should be one of the most entertaining games of the weekend, though, with just the matchup wise. In there, it's 2 polar opposite teams basically going up against each other. So it's just going to be, and the regular season games were just smash mouth, hit each other in the face. Let's see what happens type of deal. One of them went to overtime. It was 37-35, I think, was the final or whatever. So,
And the second one almost went to overtime. Had the kicker made the kick.
Exactly. So, I got Indianapolis. I got Indianapolis upsetting.
Go Colts. Seahawks and Cowboys going to close out the Saturday slate of games at night. Dallas is 2-point favorites at home. Over/under is $43. Tickets are as low as $69 on StubHub.
2 10-6 teams, and they both got to 10-6 in totally different ways. So, I was telling you when this matchup looked like it was happening 3 weeks ago, that Seattle's the team you don't want to face in the playoffs because they're sneaky this year. If I would have asked you what Seattle's record was, if you didn't know what it was, you would not have said 10-6.
No.
You would have said maybe 8-8, maybe 7-9. They are sneaky. They are good. They are experienced in these conditions. Yes, they're not the same team they were in years past coming into this. The other thing is, man, those Cowboys, there's a lot of inexperience coming to playoff time, and the pressure is going to be huge on them at home this year on there. So for Seattle, they run the most balanced team out of everybody. It's something like 55% runs per play. They need to establish the run to keep setting up that pass. They need to basically do what they've been doing all year. If Seattle has to drop back and pass the ball nonstop to get back into this game, it's over. Boys are going to win it pretty easy. Doug Baldwin has had a heck of a year since he's been back, and he's got to be heavy in this passing game. Even if he's a decoy, he's got to be the driving force behind Seattle passing the ball in this game. You've got to be throwing to him at some point. Like I said, even if it's just small outs, just to keep the Cowboys to double team him and roll the safeties over, because they're going to have to do it. They do not have the cornerbacks to stay with Doug Baldwin. And then simple, easy, Seattle needs to pound the Cowboys, Zeke Elliott, Dak Prescott, receivers, and get turnovers. They get 2 turnovers. They win this turnover battle, they'll be walking out of Dallas with a victory.
Yeah, I think.
I can tell you that.
Well, hey, play what you want.
I don't have a prediction yet.
For Seattle, you got to contain Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott in the regular season matchup this year went 127 yards on 16 carries. Just lit.
But one of them was a long run,
7.9 was his average, like 127 yards, 16 carries. You got to get turnovers. They won the turnover last year when they played around, I think it was Christmas Eve last year, 3-0. This year they won it 3-0. But that was with Earl Thomas getting 2 picks as well. Earl Thomas not in there this week. They got to find a way to create turnovers without Earl Thomas. You also got to make big plays in the passing game. That's something they did in the regular season against Dallas, which helped get them to the win, was making those big passing plays.
Yeah, so we're on the same page on that one.
Yeah.
No, right, exactly. So Cowboys, keys to the games, the 10-6 Cowboys. I just don't have any faith in the Cowboys offense at all, man. So basically what I'm saying on this one is basically run, play action, pass. I mean, I don't care if you're down by 14 in the first 3 minutes of the game, Dallas. You hand that ball off to Zeke because you're right. You just give the ball to him, let him wear down that defensive line and everything, and that's going to take pressure off of Dak because there's a potential of this game taking pressure, taking over Dak here, and him throwing the ball, trying to get the ball to Amari Cooper on there, which is my next one is Amari Cooper's got to be huge in this passing game. He's been their number 1 receiver since he's been there. He's been dominating in there. He needs to continued on that, but watch out for Seattle's defense. They're going to have some tricks on making Dak think that Cooper's open, and he's not going to be open when they get the ball on that. They're going to have to force Seattle to throw the ball. Dallas's defense, if Seattle's running the ball into the 3rd and 4th corner heavily, that means Dallas is either losing or Dallas is about to lose, because that's how Seattle does it. They sneak up on you, they wear you down, and then they pass it over the top of you. And then, like I said, just no turnovers for the Cowboys. They're 7-0 when they don't have any turnovers on there. So which is true for most football teams. But if Dallas has 0 turnovers, Seattle's the type of team that will take the ball away from you.
I think you got to feed Zeke. Obviously, I mean, we both agree there. You got to keep feeding Zeke. Guy was rested last week. You know, he had a little nicks and bangs on him.
That worries me a little bit, though.
I like resting him last week. You didn't need him last week. Guy's been getting beat up, kind of like a government mule out there. You've been feeding the ball all year long.
Feed him. Feed me.
Yeah, just feed him. You got to find a way to get Russell Wilson on the ground. When you get Russell Wilson on the ground, and even out of the pocket, it's a totally different quarterback than what Russell Wilson is used to. But it is hard to get Russell Wilson on the ground. And but out of that front line, like the Cowboys have on defense, man, they're sneaky too. They get up there, they hit you right in the face, hit you in the mouth. They might get flagged for something, but at least they do it.
Right.
And Dak needs to use his legs more to avoid, making those stupid plays, those stupid turnovers. When Dak uses his legs, it's a totally different Cowboys team.
I think Dak needs to play more like Russell Wilson. Because how many times have you seen Russell Wilson? Like, you're like, oh, we got him. And then he spins out of it, runs 10 yards sideways, flips the ball over the side of his head, and it's a 30-yard completion. Like, that's what Dak needs to learn to do. Because you're right, you get to him on that, and then that's where those stupid turnovers happen, trying to force the ball downfield, So, yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, so you got to play smart if you're Dak.
So who do you got? I know the answer. Everybody knows the answer.
You know who I got, my man. I know you've been talking about this Seattle running game the last 5 minutes about running the ball. Well, guess what? They couldn't do against Dallas in the regular season. Run the ball. 5th-ranked defense is what the Dallas Cowboys have. That defense is going to help be a momentum shifter. And they are going to be the key to the Dallas Cowboys moving on to the divisional round to lose to their second round opponent.
Yeah. Well, I got Seattle winning this one, and it's not even going to be close. This is going to be one of the boringest games of the weekend, I think, for 2 reasons. One, Cowboys, I think I just get the impression the Cowboys are just happy to be in the playoffs. Like, everything I've read about them is just, great to be here, and Seattle's just focused. It's Pete Carroll. You can't underestimate the experience they got, in there. Amari Cooper hasn't even been in the playoffs, has he? Or was he on that run when the Raiders went that one?
He was on the road.
Was he on that one? So, I just think that if this was on the road, I'd have more faith in the Cowboys. I just think being at home, all that pressure, and just the experience of the Seahawks. And like I said, the Seahawks are just sneaky good right now, whereas the Cowboys are that flash in the pan where they're like, "Woo, check us out!" They have all the jewelry on. They're look at me, and Seattle's like,
hot boys.
Seattle walks in and they're like, "Yeah, you don't even see us here. Sweet, here we go, buddy." On there, so I'm going with Seattle on this one. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout. I'm just saying it's going to be like this barn burner of a game, where it's just going to be like slow. But I think come the second or third quarter, we're all going to realize that Seattle's got this wrapped up. It's just killing the clock, unless Dallas can step it up on defense.
Here's a fun stat for you. Russell Wilson threw for 200-plus yards 9 times this season, and the Seahawks record in those games was 5-4. However, the Cowboys defense has allowed a quarterback to throw 200-plus yards 10 times this season, and the record in those games was 8-2.
Yeah, because they shut down the running game because they have one of the best run defenses in the league.
So there you go. Let Russell throw over 200 yards.
Yeah,
and the Cowboys won.
That's where they got to run. That's why one of my keys for Seattle was establish the run to set up the pass. So, Seattle started the season 0-2 because they were passing the ball all the time, and then they realized they need to run the ball more. So they started handing the ball off, and then they started dominating. That's when they started winning again. So this game's simply going to come down to Seattle offense versus Cowboys defense, because if it's a shootout, Cowboys are going to lose, and if it's a close game, Cowboys can stick in there on there. But if the defense shuts down Seattle, obviously, it should be a victory for the Cowboys. But Seattle's going to do it.
Chargers and Ravens, not Rams, LA Chargers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. That game in Baltimore on CBS on Sunday. Baltimore 2.5-point favorites, over under 42 points. Get tickets as low as $97. I don't know why I keep saying as low. That's all it still says as low. Like, that's not really low anymore.
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, we're pretty high up there now.
I think you're reading the marketing ploy by somebody.
Like,
there,
as low. Oh, yeah,
as low as $10,000.
Yeah, the Cowboys ticket as low as $69 isn't even a ticket to have a seat. That's just the stadium only.
That's a ticket on that platform or party platform or whatever.
The party deck. where you walk in there, you can't even see anything. You can't see the field. You just watch the TV unless you like get in there super early and run up to the railing. Then you can't pee for 6 hours.
So you're paying $70 to watch it on TV. Great, that's awesome. But then again, you go to a bar, you pay that much anyway to watch it on TV too. So what's the difference? I guess
exactly.
One, you're just there. So
the atmosphere.
Yeah. So this is actually a pretty intriguing game. The 12-4 Clippers.
At least I used a football team reference.
Well, because I abbreviated it LAC. So why did I do that? So the Lightning Bolts, 12-4 Chargers against the 10-6 Baltimore. Baltimore had a rough season there in the middle, but once Lamar Jackson went in there, they kind of... The thing that's amazing about Baltimore, before I go into the picks, is name a team that had a prototypical drop-back quarterback who gets injured, they go to the backup, and they change their offense completely, and actually are successful at it.
That's never happened.
Baltimore.
It doesn't happen.
Baltimore just did it. And that's what intrigues me about this the most is... And I've complained about Lamar Jackson. I almost called him Lamar Miller. I don't know why I'm on baseball references and stuff lately, but Lamar Jackson, I've been complaining about his throwing and whatnot, but he has gotten markedly better as the season's gone on in here. So basically for the Chargers... they need to speed up their offense in this game. They use the most seconds per play, and that's going to give basically a Hall of Fame defensive lineman in Terrell Suggs and these other guys time to set up and figure out what they're doing on that line. They need to go in, I'm not saying go in a hurry up, but they need to pick up their pace of play here in order to get those balls off, because you're going to have to keep Baltimore's defense on their toes on this one. Don't let Jackson run the football as a quarterback, because he'll actually run. He was leading the team in rushing there for a couple weeks, and then still passing the ball far. He runs the ball to set up his passing on that, and then the Chargers have to establish the run in the short game, where they like to go deep a lot on that, but they need to get that run and that short passing game set up with the running back there. I just forgot his name. Coming back from the knee injury on there, because that's going to keep Baltimore's defense from being able to rush in, because they have to keep Phillip Rivers upright because he cannot move.
Chargers have to continue that road dominance. 7-1 on the year on the road. Weather not going to be much of a factor. 54 degrees. What I saw earlier for the weather report for Sunday. So 7-1 on the road. Not gonna have to worry about weather. You got to continue that road dominance. I don't know what it is about the road. Apparently, like bigger crowds than the 20,000 they're getting at StubHub. It's actually not even called StubHub. It's called something else now.
Oh, it is.
I think
Home Depot Center.
No, it's some stupid long, just extravagant name.
Oh, really? They changed it? Really? Oh.
It's like Tafuna at Los Angeles Bank of America Credit Field Union. It's like, what?
I'm gonna stick with StubHub.
Yeah, just stick with StubHub.
That's what I knew it as.
I think it changed on New Year's though, so it's one of those deals.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm opposite. I think they have to control the clock. I mean, like you said, these guys on their defense, they're all Hall of Famers. You want to keep them on their toes? No, you want to keep those old guys on the field. Wear them down. Control the clock. And you also got to keep Phillip Rivers on his feet. Sacked 4 times 2 weeks ago when they played Baltimore. Failed to throw a TD and had a season-low 51.7 quarterback passer rating. So Phillip Rivers is going to be big key to Los Angeles winning this game.
Yeah, last time they matched up, Chargers offense did nothing. And part of the reason why Baltimore's...
10 points.
Kind of the reason why Baltimore's keys to the game are pretty much what run on the game 2 weeks ago in Week 16 was Baltimore's defense has to dominate the line, has to dominate the secondary, has to basically hit the Chargers that still have that reputation of being soft, although I think it's unwarranted this year. But you hit them, and they're not going to be there in the third and fourth quarter ready to go. You got to hold the Chargers to long third downs, which is what they did in Week 16. And you do that because you confuse them. You slant on your defensive lines. You confuse the offensive linemen to where they don't know where they go, so they have to hold. I mean, there were so many penalties 2 weeks ago and all that good stuff. So the Baltimore's defense has to keep doing that on there, and then they have to keep hitting Rivers. It's just even if you don't get the sack, just hurry him up, smack him in the mouth, have him fall down. He's a tough guy. He will hang in there. But what will happen is his accuracy will struggle, and he will let balls go that he shouldn't let go. And Baltimore's secondary is good enough to step in and handle those throws and pick them off for interceptions, because Baltimore needs to get interceptions to win this game.
For me, Baltimore has to keep running that ball. NFL high of 1,607 yards since Lamar Jackson came in, averaging 229.6 yards per game on the ground. Lamar has 695 of those, including 90 last week with 2 touchdowns to go with his 5 on the season. Lamar, though, has to protect the ball when he's running. 10 fumbles on the season. Like I said, guy can throw the ball. Only 3 picks since he took over, and I think those came in the first 2 games he started. But 10 fumbles, not a good sign. And John Harbaugh, the guy does not lose in the wild card games. He is 5-0. He's got to rely on that defense, though, to help him move on, because those wideouts in Los Angeles, this is probably the scariest wide receiver core in the playoffs right now, with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Tyrell Williams. Those 3, definitely a 3-headed monster back there.
Well, that's the thing, and Keenan's going to be huge on that short game to keep Suggs and that defensive line from. Baltimore can get pressure with just their down linemen, so that's where that short passing game is going to come in on this, because they're not going to be able to come off the edge and run 5 yards deep into the field if you're unloading the ball 3 yards on the field and being successful at it. So yeah, so I got Baltimore and the upset, even though they're at home and everything. Who's favored in this game?
Baltimore is favored 2.5.
I consider it an upset just because they're the 10-6 team. I mean, they had the home game because they won,
and because Lamar Jackson's a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
It was like 8th start.
Yeah. So, but I just think with that defense, I just think this comes down to defense. Baltimore's defense is just going to dominate. If this was in LA, I would actually favor the Chargers a little bit more. And I am on the Chargers bandwagon all year. I've been saying they're going to do good. They're going to win that division. They're going to get there. Blah blah blah. But this Baltimore team is completely different than what they were earlier this year. And I think Baltimore's going to shock them. And Baltimore's going to go on a playoff run here.
There were so many things that had to go right for Baltimore to even make it this far in the playoffs, and everything just went right for them. Barely held on to it by their chinny chin chin last week against Cleveland. I like LA here just because what they've been able to do on the road. The experience they have. I mean, Phillip Rivers, this isn't his first rodeo in the playoffs. Obviously, he's not very good in the playoffs. Like, has never really been
not his fault.
that great guy in the playoffs. But I think now, I mean, he's got way too many weapons on the offensive side of the ball, and that defense is pretty studly as well.
I think it's a year early for the Chargers. I think next year, watch out for them. But yeah, this year is just a year early for them.
But we said that last year about them too. Like, remember last year they came in high. They won like 5 out of like 6 games.
But they're
ass.
But they are a different team this year. They actually have receivers now, whereas last year they didn't. They actually have a running game now, whereas last year they didn't. They actually have a defense that's coming up, whereas last year they didn't. So, that's the difference between this year's. That's why I was picking the Chargers all year long, was, they're not the team they have been in the past. They're a completely different team. The problem is that they're going up against a team that has a young guy in there they've completely changed their offense and everything, and it's just amazing what they've done. And I think it's what's going to save Baltimore, and it's going to keep them winning on this one.
So we agree to disagree.
No, we'll see who wins on
Are we just disagree? Eagles and Bears going to wrap up the first round of NFL playoffs on NBC. Chicago 6.5-point favorites. Over and under for this one's 49.5. You can get tickets as low as $160. Those Bears fans, they are going to be out there, especially in this non-bear weather game. Good measly 46 degrees. Hell, that's shorts and flip-flops weather, baby. Tailgates are going to be rocking. Hot dogs, burgers going to be burning, and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, we just had, Adam here and whatever. I mean, you're not going to... It may say there's tickets available for $100, but there's no tickets available for $100. Like, everybody in the city of Chicago is trying to get tickets to this game, right? So...
Let me check out my old StubHub here.
Yeah, right? Like, I mean, this game is just going to be loud, crude. So, basically, 12-4... Chicago Bears against the 9-7 Phillies, who barely made the playoffs. I mean, they had to get a lot of help to get in here. A lot of things had to go right for them also to get there. They have the experience. They've sucked all year. They've never flipped that light switch. Everybody was waiting for them to. So Philly's keys to the game, Nick Foles. It comes down to Nick Foles. He's got to be Nick Foles of last year's playoffs. He's got to dominate the game. He's got to move the ball around. He's got to do whatever, ever Nick Foles. If Nick Foles has to go out on defense, Nick Foles needs to be on defense. Nick Foles, if Philly's winning this game, it's going to be because Nick Foles does something that only Nick Foles will do. Number one. And then Philadelphia needs to win the time of possession. They have to keep Chicago's defense on the field, wear them down, and they also have to keep Trubisky and those guys off of the field because that'll allow the defense to rest on that time. The Philadelphia is 0-4 this year when they've had the ball for less than 30 minutes, and that's not good, So that means you're not putting up points or whatever. And then they have to neutralize that Chicago defensive line. The best defensive line, maybe second best, but one of the top two defensive linemen in the league is on that line there, and he can dominate double teams and throw guys. There are videos of him throwing two offensive linemen with one hand out of his way to get to a quarterback this year.
No Fletcher Cox, he's a big boy. He's a big boy.
So on that front, and then going back to the Philly defensive side on, neutralizing the Chicago D-line, and same thing on the other side. Nobody's playing better defensive line right now than Fletcher Cox this year, right now. So Philly's defensive line needs to dominate on there as well. So
how many times do you think he got made fun of in high school? What's your name? Fletcher Cox?
You think
you gonna say something else?
Yeah. You think he got made fun of in high school, Jason? He was not. I'm sure he was.
Well, how many times do you think people snickered at his name?
Yeah, well,
they LOL'd.
You weren't doing it to his face because you don't get that big all of a sudden after you graduate high school. Something tells me
me
he was a beast in high school.
He was eating his Wheaties when he was 4. For Philly, they got to protect the quarterback, especially. They got 40 sacks this year, including 3 last week, but they got their quarterback hurt last week, taking a big hit, and Carson Wentz got hurt, 3 weeks prior to that for taking a big hit. Yep. So you got to protect your quarterback because you do not want whoever the hell that third string guy is in there. What was his name again? I know we were talking about him on Sunday because the spread was 9 points. I think they went down only 3 with the Foles. I can't remember.
We can't remember. It's some Sturgeon or something like that. Something weird. Yeah. No.
They got to also avoid the big play on offense. Mitch Trubisky, not really known for his big play capabilities, but there has been a few games where he can get out there with the big play, and that is a decrepit secondary that the Eagles have. So they have to figure out a way to avoid the big play and just pray for more of that big dick Nick magic. Because the big dick magic last year got him a Super Bowl win. Is it still there? Is the magic still there? Or is he already looking at what his contract offer is going to be next year from Washington or some other team that needs a quarterback? Denver.
Yeah, well, worry about next year. But it's got to be there or else Philly has no shot in this game. So we'll see on that, But Nick Foles.
For Chicago?
Well, stop Foles' magic. You have to stop Nick Foles. I can't make it any simpler. Nick Foles, this Philadelphia offense is a completely different team with Nick Foles running it. He is cut the head off that snake, and then you will win this game easily. If you keep Foles back there and allow him to do what he wants to do, you're going to end up losing, or it's going to be a tougher game than you think it's going to be. You have to stop. Chicago's defense has to stop the long passes, which means their defensive line and linebackers need to get in there hitting Foles and keep him off balance, because if Philly's able to start throwing the ball long against that Chicago defensive line, that means Foles has too much time and his magic's going to work back there. And then this game, first playoff game, Trubisky back there, lots of pressure in Chicago. Everybody in Chicago is excited and expecting a Super Bowl.
They're tired of saying 85 Bears. They want to say 18 Bears.
He needs to have no turnovers. He needs to be able to control the clock, keep Philly's defense out there against him, and he needs to have no turnovers, and the pressure of this game cannot envelope him in this game at home. He needs to keep composure on that. And we'll see if he can do it. Nobody knows.
Hey, for me, like you said, you got to hit Foles. You got to injure him. He has a rib injury. Hurt those ribs some more. You got to hit Nick effing Foles. I ain't saying put a bounty on him, but you got to hit him. You got to put him on the ground, and you got to freaking keep him on the ground. Just hit Foles. I think Cohen and Howard got to be used efficiently and effectively in this game.
Nice.
I feel like more often than not, when I do watch a Bears game, they'll rely on one more than the other in some aspects, and then that other will falter, then they won't go back to the other one. But then you can only run Cohen so much over Howard. You got to find a way to use them both effectively and efficiently. And also on top of that, you got to let that run game set up the pass game. And I think a big key to that will be Cohen. You got to get him out in the slot more. Like I said, that secondary is beat up. You got to use him in the slot more, doing some slant routes, doing some trickery, doing whatever you got to do to kind of take the pressure off of Mitch Trubisky, because there is going to be a lot of pressure on Mitch, who is only his second year in Chicago. I remember last year when he was drafted by the Bears, nobody in their right mind said Mitch Trubisky is going to be the guy to lead the Bears. Everybody in Chicago, including myself, was like, this is not the guy you want. You cannot get this guy. This is not the guy that you draft, but they went out and did it, and here he is. I'm eating my crow, egg on my face. Mitch Trubisky has him in the playoffs.
Well, let's be honest here. The defense got him there more than Trubisky did.
Yeah, but Trubisky's there. He did. He was pretty good this year.
The one thing I didn't comment on this is it's the same thing with Nagy. It's his first playoff game as a head coach, and a lot of times that'll change the way they coach and stuff. But he might be the one guy that I have full confidence in to come into this with a game plan that will just be out of this world. We'll all be sitting here on Monday morning, Sunday night and Monday morning going, where has Matt Nagy been our whole life? He has the capability to be like,
how come nobody else got that guy?
What? Where did this guy come from? Because he has that ability to, we thought that about Sean McVay with the Rams last year, and they just looked like they'd never played football before that first game they played, and they got eliminated. So, but this is the one coach where I'm like, this guy might just do something to make us all just go, wow, on Sunday. So, on this. So, I got Chicago winning this. I think it's going to be a fairly easy game for him. Just because that defense, man. And I think Philadelphia's luck just had. They finally get penalized for not flipping that switch and thinking they can just walk into the playoffs and win.
I got Chicago as well, mainly because Adam Michaels just texted me saying that he got a ticket for $49 for his flight back home. Not for the game. He prefers to watch the game in his own comfort of his own house, but he did get a flight from Phoenix to Chicago for $49, so that's a good deal.
He just commented that I need to stop making fun of the White Sox. So
because they're not a big market, whatever. It happens. But no, I like Chicago. 6.5 point favorite. There's a reason these guys are 6.5 point favorites. That defense is going to be on something else this week. Khalil Mack is he's been Khalil effing Mack. Whether you think him or Darnold's the best player on the defensive side of the ball or maybe best player in the league, you could toss a coin up for any of those two. I slightly give the edge to Darnold, but Khalil Mack has just been on a whole nother deal this year since moving to Chicago.
Khalil Mack has less to work with on the line. Darnold's lining up next to Sue, for Christ's sake.
Right. And the stuff they did for that, to that division too.
Yep.
After losing to the Packers that first game, they went out and they dominated that division, and they made it their bitch.
Yeah. And it wasn't even close on there either. So I don't disagree. Chicago might be in for a long playoff run. Bad part is everything's going to go through New Orleans, but Chicago's a team that could possibly do it. But they're the most intriguing team that I'm actually looking forward to. I hate to say this because it's the Bears, but they're the team I'm most intrigued by and watching to see what they can do here. Just partly because they are so new. They're the only team in the playoffs this year where you're like, wonder what they can do. Everybody else, you kind of know what they are, So, be exciting times though on there. So, what do we got? I got Indy, Seattle, Chicago, and Baltimore, and you have?
I have Indy, Dallas, LA, and Chicago.
All right, so we're 2-2, so we'll see.
We differed on 2.
Yes,
there you go. But on Monday we have another game coming up: the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Clemson Tigers from South Carolina.
I was going to say, you're going to call them the South Carolina.
Oh no, that's how I'm determining how I'm picking them based off this poll I did. You can determine however you want to pick it. Let's be honest here. We both think Alabama's probably going to win, right?
Yeah, Alabama's winning this game.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's have a little fun then. Because there's probably people out there who don't know who to pick. But we're going to help you out right now. We have state versus state. Alabama versus South Carolina. I got 5 categories here. We can vote on which one we think's the best. In the end, I'm the one that came up with this, so my category, whatever I pick, will win. But here we go.
Seems legit.
Seems legit. State bird. Why don't we go? Alabama has the northern flicker, while South Carolina has the Carolina wren.
Don't we have to see the state birds? But I like the name of Carolina better.
I like the name of Carolina better just because of the northern flicker. Alabama is in the south, and definitely not northern or anything like that. And Carolina wren, it just makes more sense geographically. So, yeah, South Carolina, you get the nod on that one.
I agree. Okay.
All right, best food. Alabama, according to onlyyourstate.com, is known for their barbecue pulled pork, saying that nobody else does barbecue better than Alabama. When also on onlyyourstate.com, they say South Carolina, the dish of choice is grits.
Can we have a no contest on that one?
You don't like pulled pork?
I don't. Yeah, but you know what I hate about pulled pork is, doesn't every state say they have the best pulled pork?
Well, apparently to onlyyourstate.com.
Well, barbecue pulled pork I would go with on this one, so Alabama.
I would go with that over the grits because,
Yeah, I'm not a grits fan at all.
was a dish that was first made by the Native Americans. And then South Carolina just kind of took it over there with the South. So, nod Bama. Sorry, got 1-1 right now?
Yes.
All right, best wrestler. So Bama has the legendary manager of The Undertaker, Paul Bearer, also known as Percy Pringle. Bobby Eaton, a tag team champ with the Midnight Express, and Deborah Marshall, a former wife and valet to Steve Mongo McMichael and to Stone Cold Steve Austin. While South Carolina has former Intercontinental Champion Shelton Benjamin, The Big Show, and one Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, I'm going to favor Alabama just because of the pallbearer, right? He didn't do anything, but he was scary.
Oh, yes!
Yeah, and he was pale, and he was chubby. Like, I don't know, I think that's way better.
You know, I was thinking, because there's that weird flex of managers. You got 2 there from Bama. Then you got the wrestlers. I mean, Sergeant Slaughter was a champion, so was the Big Show. But Deborah Marshall, she can take a punch from Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Steve Michael, well, he was on the 85 Bears, and Adam keeps calling me, so I'll give the nod to Bama as well.
All right, we're going to go Bama on that one?
There you go.
All right.
Mascot. So the Alabama Crimson Tide, first off, their name is based off their jersey color, right? Like, that's kind of weird. When the Clemson Tigers, they have the tiger, but the mascot for Bama is actually an elephant, which kind of makes no sense to me. I don't know, unless they're just a Republican state. But mascot-wise,
Which they are.
you got the elephant and you got the tiger.
I'm thinking here, because I love tigers.
I think it makes more sense since the Tigers are the Tigers.
No, I agree with you on that. I'm going to go tigers, too, because it flows a little bit. Yeah, it flows better.
Yeah.
But
You don't have to ask yourself, why is there an elephant?
Well, that's actually what I was contemplating.
Like, the average fan doesn't have to ask why a tiger is on the Clemson Tiger sideline.
That's what I was doing when I hesitated there, was I was actually trying to think of why they would have an elephant. There's an obvious reason that we don't know, but, I agree, Clemson on that one, so.
So 2-2.
Yep, this is a breaker right here?
This is the tiebreaker. Musical act.
Oh, no. You're going to say Hootie, aren't you?
Oh, boy.
You're going to say Hootie, aren't you?
South Carolina, Alabama. They got Hank Sr. Of course, there's a tear in my beer. And great country music when you're going through a breakup and a bad time. Lionel Richie.
Alabama?
Yeah, Lionel Richie, whose only fuck up was probably
Dancing on
Nicole.
the ceiling. But she was adopted.
Yeah, so it makes sense.
Not even his.
But, he adopted it, right? Come on now. And, of course, the band, named after the state,
I just called.
Alabama, which
say-
started in Fort Payne, Alabama.
I love you.
Roll on highway.
I just called.
Going to play in Texas.
To say
Gotta have
how
a fiddle in the
much I
band.
care.
All right, South Carolina. You got James Brown.
Okay.
Everybody loves James Brown. Great work on Rocky 4.
Hiya.
Living in America. The Marshall Tucker Band. one of your favorites.
Marshall Tucker Band.
And of course, none other than Mr. Hootie and Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah, I knew it.
I only want to be with you.
I would normally call this a draw because for anybody who was around for that first Hootie album back in the early 90s, man, there was nothing better than that anywhere in life. Like, that just made you smile when that song came, when that album happened. But then at the same time, man, how can you go wrong with Lionel Richie and his love songs and Alabama, right? You gotta have a fiddle in the band.
Got to.
You got to. This should be a draw right here. And it pains me to say this. I'm going to Alabama. You gotta
Alabama!
Gotta go Alabama. on this
Gonna
one.
win the national title. They win the state debate. Is that we're calling that the state debate?
Sure.
They win the state debate. Pull through with Lionel Richie and Hank Sr. Hank Sr. coming in hard here in 2018 still. Gotta love it. It's gonna be great. Alabama wins the national title game. Man, I can't wait. Are you excited now?
No, the best part of this is we just went through that whole exercise to go with what we were picking anyway. So
Well, I thought you were gonna go South Carolina there. I had you back.
you know what? Like I said, it's hard to go against Hootie because
It is hard.
that was.
He only wants to be with you.
Sometimes I wonder if it'll ever end.
Well-
I get so mad at me when I go out with all my friends.
And Hootie and the Blowfish are coming back. They're gonna be back on tour.
Well, Darius never went away.
Well, Darius did one of Darius things.
When was the last time you did something for the first time, Jason?
Who knows?
With your wagon wheel.
That wasn't even his song. That was a
I know,
cover.
the redo, but still.
That was a cover. That's why you lose, Darius
he's
Rucker.
still saying it.
You left to go do a cover and get famous off that song. That was your
guess-
first famous country song.
Well, I mean, if you just go off of like hits, obviously Lionel Richie and Alabama had a lot more hits, even though they probably weren't as big a hits as Hootie's hits were, but they had a lot more of them. So
Well, you also compare in there the other two too. I mean, Marshall Tucker Band.
Yeah,
and
it's not-
and I think Lionel Richie evens out James Brown.
yeah, like Lionel, even for a.
Like James Brown, you had to be in the mood for.
Yeah,
Lionel
like-
Richie, you weren't really in the mood for.
Even as like a little kid when Lionel Richie was famous for all those love songs, like even I was like, wow, Lionel Richie. Yeah.
I love you.
It's like I don't know what these feelings are I have because I'm 6, but oh my
I'm
god,
ready to go make love to a woman.
I'm 6 and
And then Hank Jr. when you were 6,
Debbie
you,
over there.
you just knew that she hurt your heart and you just wanted to drink beer.
so yeah, that's what I'm going with that on that one. It's like, man, that's a tough choice.
So using personal experience. All right, I like that. There we go. That's good. That's good.
As I just said, my 6-year-old self wanted to make love to Lionel Richie. That was kind of odd.
Well, you didn't have to say Lionel Richie. You could have just said it to a female. We're the Main Event Podcast. Jason Carter and Stephen Coleman. Glad you listened. Here, the first show of the new year. Don't forget, we're going to be back next Friday with more great content. Getting ready for the divisional round matchup and also breaking down what we saw and what we didn't want to see during the National Football title game. That's coming up next week. So until then, God bless you, God bless the troops, and God bless America.
See ya.